Sonic Frontiers has been out for about 5 months now, and we had a lot of time to really digest everything and take a close look at everything in and out of the game. And personally, for me, this game has been one of the best Sonic games in recent memory. But does that mean the game is perfect? No, of course not, far from it. There are some things in this game that stop it from being better than it can be. But for me, what really hurts the game is the missed opportunities that are all over this game. There are just way too many moments in this game where it feels like Sonic Team could have fleshed this part out more, or it feels like it was just completely left incomplete. So, we're going to go over some of the biggest missed opportunities in Sonic Frontiers so that we can avoid them in the next game. And this is going to be a two-parter, so make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next part when it releases. And comment down below, what do you think are some of the biggest missed opportunities in this game? Are there some things that you wish they'd done more, or fixed, or done better? Let me know, because I'm genuinely interested. Maybe I missed something. But I don't want to wait longer. Let's get into the video. And before we get into everything, like the opportunities and stuff, I kind of want to go over the background, because I feel like it's important that we get like a kind of a glimpse into the the view of the developer, so we can see what's going on with them. So this game began technically production right after Forces. Kishimoto was tasked to be the director, and he had like a lot of pressure put on him, because we found out later from him that if this game would have failed, it would have been the end of his directing career. So this game had to be great. They basically were planning, going back and forth on different ideas for the style of game they wanted, and finally after 2 years they came up with the open zone style. So that's already 2 years of this game's development, just planning and coming up with the concept. So in reality, they only had like 4 years to make this game, since development actually started in 2019. So they had about 4 years, give or take. Funnily enough, this game was supposed to release actually last year, but the game was not finished. So Iizuka had to literally fight Sega to give them more time. Thankfully, they got that extra time. Like, imagine if this game released back in 2021. No, I don't want to imagine that, man. I'm pretty sure that would have killed the franchise completely. But thankfully, this game is now releasing in 2022. But that puts even more pressure on it to be better, because they gave them that extra time to complete it. So if it's not good now, then that time they gave them is for nothing. What's even crazier is that this game was made with 60 to 80 people. It's nothing compared to like a standard AAA studio. So it's nothing short of a miracle that this game released at all and is like good, actually. So now that we understand the circumstances that they had to go through, we have to go into some missed opportunities that I feel like that they still could have taken advantage of with their time. The first one I want to talk about is just the entirety of Rhea Island. So when Frontiers was being advertised, it was said that there would be 5 islands. Very conveniently, we only saw 3 of them: Kronos, Ares, and Chaos. So we thought, oh, they're just hiding the last 2 islands. But in reality, it turns out there's only technically 3 islands. Kronos, Rhea, and Uranos all used to be one island. You can even see in like both islands, you can see, if you go high enough, you can see an outline of where both islands used to be. And yeah, and on Rhea, you could just dead ass see Kronos is just right there. So yeah, you can tell that corners were cut, especially with Rhea, because besides like the massive towers you have to climb on the island, it's practically devoid of life. There's no Elder Coco, Hermit Coco, hell, there's no Coco whatsoever. There's no new puzzles, there's no like platforming challenges, there's even like a tower that was on Kronos, but up until this recent update, there was no way to get up there, because there was no way like springs or anything like that. So the island felt completely empty, and it kind of sucks, because there's a lot of cool landmarks there. Like there's this kind of like buildings underwater, like these ruins, like an aquatic ruins. There's just like these like wall running sections that are like just completely open, and there's so many gimmicks in this island. I feel like if they expanded on it, it would have been such a good island, and it sucks that it was just untouched. So I wish for like maybe the 3rd update, like I want them to like expand this island just a little bit, because I feel like there's so much hidden potential here, just for like some magic to happen. Next up, I want to cover something that was criminally underutilized in this game: the parkour / wall running they have in this game. So around the open world, Some specific walls and cliffs have this glowing texture on them, and when Sonic goes up and runs towards it, he can go and run on the wall. Now, this is a cool feature because you have free movement on the wall, unlike a certain game. But here are my issues with this. 1. The controls suck kind of ass. So unless you're running in a straight path, you cannot make any turns or corrections without being janky as fuck. Alright. That's why like on the floating platforms there's like a dash panel, because if you try to like actually control, you just fall off because it's impossible to control. And number 2, they just don't use this ability enough. Now, despite my complaints about the gameplay, when there's like those bigger cliffs like on the walls and like the cliffs, the controls aren't that bad actually. And there are some parts in the island where you can see like a glimpse of what is possible with like the huge arc in Oranos and some cliffs in like all the 3 Kronos islands like Kronos, Rhea, and Oranos. But I feel like if they were to fix up the controls just a little bit and just add more like dynamic and fun platforming sections with this feature, it could add so much more open zone gameplay. Like also, this could also fix the problem where like most of the platforming done is like on the sky platform. Actually a really good example of this. So the fan game that I'm talking about is called Sonic Horizons, and it was created by Strix. So you can go follow him over here on Twitter. And this game has a wall running mechanic. But what sets it apart from Sonic Frontiers is that, don't get mad at me, it uses momentum. I know, I'm sorry. I used the M word. I'm so sorry. But no, for real. Not only does it use momentum, but instead of using the regular move stick, like the left stick to move Sonic, the camera is locked. So instead of moving Sonic with the joystick, you move him by moving the camera, so that you're locked in place. So it's much easier to make smaller adjustments, and it's much more tighter. And going back to momentum, if you launch off like your wall with a certain amount of speed, you go flying, which adds some fun gameplay. Maybe a Sonic team can like adjust it to make it like that. So yeah. So something that everyone who has played this game can agree on is that the Super Sonic Titan fights are the rawest thing that has ever come from this game, let alone the whole series, right? Each Titan is introduced with a cutscene at the beginning of the island. Gigano straight up picks up Sonic and chucks him across the fucking room. And then with Witherin and Knight, they literally chase Sonic to fucking, I don't even know where, but they chase him and he almost fucking dies, man. And each fight ends with a climactic finisher, like when Sonic fucking splits Knight in half with its own sword. Are you kidding me? Supreme misses on every single one of these things. There's no entrance for it at the beginning of the island. Eggman straight up just gives you the last emerald. You don't have to climb him. Then when you go fight him, he straight up just like a Giganto clone. It has one QTE, which is just him shooting you and you dodging it, right? And when you kill him, there's no cool animation or anything. He just collapses, right? Now, if this was the first fight, hell, if this was a secret fight in Rhea, I wouldn't be as mad, right? But it's technically, it is the final supersonic boss fight in the game. So to say that it's underwhelming is a crazy understatement, okay? There's even a midpoint transformation where he literally ascends into the air and he grows wings like it's the final impact in Evangelion, bro. Are you kidding me? And it goes crazy. He doesn't keep them. As soon as he goes back in the gameplay, he loses the wings. Why, man? But a while back, some unused animations were found in the game's files, and it showed a wholly unique QTE like system for Supreme, which Kishimoto later confirmed was intended to be in the game, but went unfinished because they weren't able to finish it in time. So, if possible, Kishimoto also hinted that he might want to add it to the end of the game and fix the final boss. So, in Update 3, and maybe even as early as Update 2. But regardless, that doesn't excuse this whole fight being a Giganto copy. What I would have done is make it, like, first of all, make the gun more usable. Like we saw in the QTE, he uses the gun a lot more. But at the end of the fight, I would prefer Sonic just steal his gun, similar to how he stole the sword from Knight, and just air him out, bro. But don't completely destroy him. Air him out where he's like bah, 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 and then he just falls on his back. That would be badass, right? Well, but they can't destroy him though, because they need him for the final fight against the end. Speaking of the end, when I heard we were getting a secret final boss for players who beat hard mode, I was expecting some final supersonic fight. What I got instead was fucking Galaga! This fight could have been Sonic versus the Moon with assistance from the Titan, right? But instead, we get Toho! We get a bullet hell! Oh, the fight itself was the fight itself was so underwhelming. Sonic technically fought a planet before. He's done it before in SA2, right? Technically, the arc is a planet. Or it's moon-shaped. Like, you can really see a lot of these missed opportunities come at the end of the game where they really had to, like, crunch down to finish the game. But I'm, like, really thinking about this. The moon doesn't really need that much animations because it's a moon. Like, what is it going to do? Start hitting the gritty? No. They have supersonic controls already in the game, so they can just apply it to the moon. They could still use the bullets as attacks for Sonic to dodge, right? And for a special attack for the boss, it could just use, like, the energy blast that it does when, like, Sonic is trying to, like, it does, like, a beep, 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 and shoots a big, like, Kamehameha at Sonic. They could just use that, and Sonic, like, dodges it as, like, an animation, like QTE. And for the ending, Sonic could have just, like, it should have just shot the big laser and, like, Sonic just, like, have that ending scene from the original, the end fight where, like, the Titan and Sonic block it and, you know, all that stuff, right? And for us, I know for, like, a super attack, Sonic, like, when you, like, parry and you have to, like, do a slam down, Sonic could just, like, side loop the moon. Very basic, side loop the moon and use a gigantic, you know how, like, that cross slash thing he does, or, like, a key blast? Just a gigantic key blast and just shoot at the moon. That would be so cool. I feel like they missed out on making one of the most climactic fights in the Sonic series. Sonic literally fighting the physical embodiment of death in space. But hopefully, like mentioned before, Kishimoto might have some adjustments to it to make it better in later updates. Finally, I want to talk about Eggman and a little bit about Sage and Eggman's relationship. Eggman in this game really isn't a villain, though he did start the whole, like, thing where, like, the AI completely, like, goes against him. But for most of the game, he is stuck in cyberspace, so we get very limited scenes with him in, like, most of them are in cyberspace, right? And most of the scenes with him are with him and Sage. I think that the missed opportunity, I think that Eggman as a character in this game is a missed opportunity because of who is writing it. We have Ian Flynn, okay? We have Ian Flynn writing the dialogue for this game. And when he writes Eggman, he writes him well. There are moments in IDW where he is straight up a menace. Like, he is a villain. Like, actually evil, right? And here, he seems more mellowed out, right? A lot of the dialogue from him is in the egg logs where we get from Egg Big's fishing, right? So, he doesn't really, like, interact with a lot of characters around him, right? And this is extremely, like, listen, the logs are very extremely important for War Dump and for the development of him and Sage's relationship. In the game, like, Eggman and Sage grow this father-daughter bond over the game, right? But what's the thing is, a lot of that is just in the egg logs, so we don't get that in the actual game, right? So when we come to this scene, I think everyone knows, where Sage is spying on Sonic and Tails, and they're, like, having this, like this brotherhood and, like, brothership. She's like, oh, I wish I had this with my father, right? And, like, they cut to a scene of all the moments. It's just, it's just Eggman either yelling at Sage, or it's either Eggman yelling at Sage, or it's Sage blowing up helicopters, right? And maybe a little smile. It's less emotional and more funny. Like, bro, I'm laughing right now typing the script, and I'm probably gonna laugh. I'm laughing at it right now, bro. Now, when I watched the scenes, I already collected all the egg logs, and I had the context, right? But for the average player who might not collect all of these, it just doesn't seem fitting. Like, so I feel like the way they can, like, fix this is put those interactions or, like, these feelings of Eggman with, and show him, like, growing these feelings with Sage in a cutscene with Sage, instead of it being in an egg log where some people won't even, like, be bothered to look for it, right? I feel like that just would grow the relationship more and feel more real, instead of just the memory of Sage getting yelled at by Eggman, bro. I don't know what they thought they were cooking. Sage is not in an edit, bro. I really feel like this is a truly missed opportunity, both for Eggman's character in this game and for the relationship, especially with Ian Flynn, especially with him. So those are some of the biggest missed opportunities in Sonic Frontiers. Now, you may be wondering, what's the point of any of this? You just shat on Sonic Frontiers for like 15 minutes. Well, if you remember from the beginning of the video, I said this is a 2-part series. So I will discuss in the next video how the sequel to Sonic Frontiers will be the best Sonic game ever made because of these flaws. So if you want to see why, subscribe so that you don't miss that upload. Or if you just enjoyed this video, and remember, comment down below to tell me what you think about this game and the missed opportunities in it. But until then, I'll see you in the next part with why I think the next game will be the greatest Sonic game of all time. Bye bye!